Hello and welcome to the Talk Football Pod. I have a special guest with me this week. His name is Andrew Reid. I can see him because we're doing this over Skype because we're still in restrictions. It is what it is. He's a Man United fan and this is that Man United focused episode. Welcome to the pod, Mr. Reid.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Hodge.
No worries, buddy. I've been looking forward to this one.
So I have, actually.
And obviously me being a pod virgin, you are my first club-focused interview.
Oh, I feel so privileged.
Right, let's crack straight into it. Now, obviously, you've had a number of managers since Mr. Ferguson departed. Some have not really worked out so well. One you gave a 6-year contract to. In hindsight, maybe that's probably not a good idea. I think managers probably earn more money these days getting sacked than they do actually earning on the job.
Jose Mourinho.
Well, yeah, Jose Mourinho. And my good friend Paul, who will be joining me for the Spurs pod, has got a lot to say on Mr. Mourinho, but that's for another episode. Right, so obviously after Moisey, you had Van Gaal, Mourinho, none of which really worked out. Spent a hell of a lot of money. And it led us to a point now where Ollie came in, at first obviously on a temporary basis, and then obviously became the manager. You lot cost me money because I had Ollie to be sacked by Christmas, and now you sit second in the league.
It's the same when he first came in as temporary. Then he won all them games in a row, and then we had that crap period again. And to be fair, I was expecting him to be sacked, but now we're just flying again.
Yeah, I have to say, with if I was a Man United fan, as much as Ollie is a club legend for obvious reasons, I would have felt possibly a little underwhelmed. Thinking, I would be thinking, well, how are we going to attract quality signings to the club? With Ollie as manager, he's not a proven manager. Got Cardiff relegated. Obviously went back to Mulder. Yeah. But fair play to Ollie. He's done really well. Obviously, I would guess many Man United fans would probably think Ollie is the man to take you forward as it stands.
As it stands, I'm absolutely hoping so. I mean, we're sitting second in the league. If you said to any Man United fan, you'll be seconds and chasing City, all right, City could win the league today if we lose to Liverpool.
Yeah.
But if you said to any Man United fan, you'll be seconds, you could be in the Europa League final, I'll be like, really? You're having a bubble?
I think you'd be biting their arm off.
Yeah, literally. Like, especially some of the results we have done, like beating Southampton 9-0 and all that. You're like, what? Really?
I think for me, looking at it obviously from, and I know quite a lot of Man United fans, is that he's brought back the Man United way of playing. And I know that this is important to a lot of clubs, a specific style of play, which is obviously attack. Because I know that's what the old Stretford end gets on it, don't they? Attack.
That is literally that's where the previous managers always failed at. If you look at LVG, Louis,
I think LVG tried, but I don't think he was ever really accepted.
Literally, Moisey. You look at when he was at Everton, he was actually an attacking manager. Then he came Man United, bought Fellaini, a defensive midfielder. You're like, and now we're playing defensive football, and we're like, hang on a minute, so what's changed? So if you go attacking at Everton, defensive at Man United, which don't work.
For me, anyone that took over after Ferguson, I think it was a bit of a poison chalice. I think you were doomed to fail, really. Yes, I mean that brings us up to, like, as you mentioned, second in the league. So it brings us up to like where you are. I'll give you my honest opinion. I never had Man United sitting second in the league and battering Roma 6-2 in a Europa League semi-final.
I'll tell you what, obviously, because it was on BT, I couldn't watch it. So I was playing FIFA and I was watching it on the Sky app, and it's coming up with like the little highlights and all that. Then there's like 2-1 down, Dzeko scored. I was like, oh, Man City coming in again at us. And then it went 2-2. I'm like, hang on a minute, Cavani's on. Oh, hang on a minute, 3-2. Wait, hang on a minute, 4, 5, 6. What the hell?
I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I would like yourself. I was trying to keep track of it, and the last time I checked the score, it was 2-1 to Roma, and then I got to obviously it got to full time, and I checked the score, and I was like, wow. I mean, that's Roma. I mean, that's not. That's not
that's not a small side.
It's not a small side, and they are a very good team. So I think that's an incredible result. You would think it impossible for you not to make the final now. So mate, that's a major trophy. It's not like a Carabao Cup, not having to get the Man City fans 4 in a row, but and all that. But you all won the Carabao Cup. But it's a major European trophy. Should you have finished outside the top 4, which obviously you're not, it also obviously would have meant Champions League qualification. That's what
literally,
I would say.
like, you look at the last couple of seasons, we've finished 6th, we've finished like 4th, 2nd under all his previous managers. But the same, like I've just said just now, if you said to me we'd be in the Europa League final, 2nd in the league, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
But then you look at some of the results.
I would
have. Yeah, I know you would have. But you look at some of the results we have had recently, like losing to Sheffield, and then we'll go smash someone else. You're like, huh?
Funny and difficult season for a lot of clubs. If you actually look at the sheer amount of away wins there have been across the Premier League this season, it's incredible. I think a lot of that obviously goes down to the fact that there's no fans in the ground, so you don't get that 12th man aspect.
Yeah.
And talking of 12th men. I'm gonna bring you on to someone who's actually recently departed the club on the back end of the failed ESL breakaway. So I'd like to get your thoughts on the departure of Mr. Woodward.
Absolutely, finally, that bloke, him and the Glazers have been so toxic.
Obviously the Glazers. Clearly, I mean, it's not difficult to see, that Man United's a piggy bank to them.
Yep.
Somewhere where they can harvest a lot of money from. And football's a business. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So I can't really argue with that. But the absolute cluelessness of Woodward, from an outside perspective, the way he handled transfers, why they didn't put a proper director of football in to handle that sort of stuff. He's gone, rather, I would say. So I think that's a very positive step for all Man United fans. Yeah. Safely say that anyone will be an improvement.
Anyone. There's talks of Van der Sar at the minute.
Well, that would be incredible. A club legend, obviously.
Club legend like he is, what he's won. And he knows...
He obviously knows the game.
Ajax as well.
Yeah. He'll have good contacts, without question.
No doubt.
So obviously, with the potential new director of football coming in, brings us on to signings. I mean, one of the main reasons where you are is probably the signing of Bruno Fernandes. The guy's been an absolute revelation since coming in.
It's what we needed. We needed that midfielder who, no disrespect to Harry Maguire, I say Bruno should be captain, because Bruno, you watch him in every game, he's sitting there, like, you listen to obviously there's no fans, so you sort of hear the actual lads chatting and all that. You always hear Bruno like, oh, do this, do that. You don't really see Maguire being that sort of more captain. Bruno's there, he's at you. If you're playing rubbish, he's going to tell you. Yeah, he's very vocal. I haven't watched a United game without the fan noise, with the fan noise off. So I'm definitely going to check that out, because I wouldn't have actually took Bruno for being like a vocal leader on the pitch. Especially when Pogba was injured and then Bruno was literally dominated everything. You could hear him. He's like, oh, Rashi, do this, do that, do this. Always to Rashford and Greenwood, obviously the young boys, like the youngers. And he's telling them, like Dan James, when he was starting in the start of the season, he's like, Dan, just run. I'll try and ping it to you and all that. I'm hoping that I might be able to hear some more of Bruno during the Liverpool game later.
Yeah, Liverpool game today. Obviously, it's that the old Man United Liverpool rivalry. Clearly, Liverpool will have a little bit on this, because they can obviously, not that they would want to. Obviously, they never would have wanted to lose their crown. They would like to have won it back to back, but obviously, handing United a defeat and giving City the title today, they've probably got a little bit of something in this, given your rivalry down the years. In terms of other signings, obviously Cavani, I think my personal view when you signed him on loan, my personal view was that it was a very clever and very shrewd signing. That is a proven goal scorer. He wasn't that old. I mean, 33 when he signed for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, he hadn't played much football because the French league got cancelled, so he needed to get a bit of fitness back. And you are seeing the class of Cavani coming through now.
Like, literally, it was... Who did we beat recently 3-2 and Cavani got the winner and Greenwood pinged it? That's going to really bug me. And he literally said to Greenwood, you run down that wing and just cross it. And that's when he headed it in.
Yeah, I like Cavani. He's a class act, absolute class act without question. In terms of other signings you'd like to see coming in the summer, who would be the top of your shopping list if you were the director of football?
If I was the director of football, there's always talks of Sancho. Why do we need... I don't think we need Jadon Sancho.
No, I'd agree that. I think you've got enough wide players. I think if you talk about signing him, then possibly you are hindering the progression of someone like Greenwood. Who I think is a fantastic prospect.
I love Mason Greenwood. Like the age he is and what he's doing, and my God, he's got a power on him.
Well, right foot, left foot doesn't seem to bother him. He can finish on either. He's got a good passing range, good vision. Seems to read the game fairly well as well. So, and at such a young age, and obviously Definitely. For England as well, that I wouldn't like to see anyone coming in that's going to block his progression. So, if Cavani goes, obviously, if you get Cavani for another year, if he does stay on for another year, it takes the pressure off signing any other strikers, I would suppose. But should Cavani go, who would be top of your strike? I could think of one name that's top of everyone's strikers list.
Every Man United player, and because of his connections, obviously everyone's going to say Erling Haaland.
Yeah, and
he is at the age he is as well.
It's a hell of a lot of money, and I suppose the question is you're looking at probably 130, maybe to 150. That's a hell of a lot of money on one player, but he is only 20, so.
To be fair,
potential for he'll be worth double that in a couple of years.
Well, 130 million for a 20-year-old who's banging in so many goals left, right, and centre,
and he's an absolute animal.
He is a beast. Dortmund, he's bossing it in the German league.
I can't honestly think of any other sort of strikers out there at the moment around the top leagues in Europe that would possibly sort of fit that typical number 9 sort of style that you would need. I do think you need that sort of like proper number 9, like Cavani's doing at the moment, that focal point at the top of the attack. Because I think it does bring Rashford, Greenwood, or James, whoever plays in the wide positions in any particular game, it does bring them into it, and obviously enables your midfielders to have an impact on the game as well.
Yeah. Harry Kane, but no respect to this Harry Kane. He's a brilliant out-and-out striker. It's just when he gets injured.
There is that, and I think obviously the other thing with Kane, he's turning 28 this year. He does see. I mean, the injuries seem to be taking a bit of a toll on him. I mean, a lot of Tottenham fans have noticed it. I mean, the pundits talk about it, where he's dropping deep now, and which is fine when you've got someone like a Son in the team because they can run beyond you. And obviously, at United, he would have that at United, arguably with Rashford, Greenwood, James. Bruno breaking beyond him from an attacking midfield position, but ideally you want a focal point, number 9, a predator in the box type striker.
Yeah. If we did keep Cavani as well, and we did sign Haaland would learn so much from Cavani.
I agree, particularly in attacking movements into the box, where to make those runs.
Yeah.
Timing the runs, playing off that shoulder of. I mean, if you think how good Haaland is now at the age of 20, it is pretty scary. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
The age of 20, I was pouring pints of Wetherspoons, and this it's up in the German league.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with I think Dortmund probably will sell him this year, mainly due to the fact now I'm not 100% sure what the figure is, but if he stays at Dortmund for until beyond the start of the next season, I believe there's a clause in his contract that allows him to leave for as little as around about 80 million.
Ooh, 80 million. Imagine
I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that figure. I would have to check that, but I think it's around that 80 to 90 million mark, which
There's
is obviously why he's been linked with moving away this year.
I think there's one thing that's letting football down in a minute, and that is the price of players.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a bit of talk actually recently about setting up some kind of price cap on wages and transfers. I think we're well beyond that now. I think if that was going to happen, that would have had to have happened, 5 or 10 years ago, when people started paying upwards of 50 million for one player.
I mean, if that happened, Man City would be knackered, wouldn't they?
Well, my team as well. To be fair, actually, because a lot of people talk about how much money, particularly Chelsea, Man United, Man City have spent, but your neighbours who you're playing up the road, I believe under Klopp, just alone under Klopp, they've spent something in the region of 450 odd million. Now they'll talk about, but our net spend is this, that, and the other. You've still spent the money. You've still gone out and purchased players. Every club does. When clubs get labelled with buying a title, every club does. You go right the way back to Blackburn when they won the Premier League. They brought in Sutton, Shearer, all sorts of players. So every club does it. Every top club spends. You don't have 11 academy of players run it. Well, I say that, but we can go, and it is one of our next topic actually, because that brings us nicely into which I consider the best midfield four.
That's a big
in terms of a midfield four who play together regularly, game in, game out. For me, going back to that sort of class of '92 era, and that's Giggs, that wide left Giggs, Beckham on the right, and then Scholesy and Keane in the middle.
Yeah,
I mean, you get any better than that?
Roy Keane, my God, that bloke was a leader.
Yeah, I remember the semi-final of that year, the '99, the treble year. Obviously, Scholes and Keane both get yellow cards in that game, but those two guys' performance in that game, obviously, Keano got the goal, got you back into the game as well. Incredible performance, and from incredible players.
Midfielders nowadays, you don't look at like Bruno, Pogba, obviously Havertz and all that at Mason Mount at Chelsea. You're not going to see midfielders like that nowadays. You're not going to see another Roy Keane who did not give any.
With obviously with squad rotations and stuff like that. I don't think you necessarily. I mean, those four almost became like a package, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
I don't, with squad rotating and whatnot, I don't think you see that anymore. And I don't think you'll see, possibly maybe the closest you've had to a group that fitted together well like that was maybe where the Liverpool team, where they finished second and then the following year they won the title, and you had that consistent front three of like Salah, Firmino and Mane.
Yep.
I think it's a similar kind of thing with Giggsy, Beck, Scholes and Keane. Just where four guys can have such a major impact on every game.
It's just Beckham, the dead ball specialist.
Yeah.
For a fact, you tell him to put a ball somewhere, he's going to put it there.
He's on
Same with Scholes.
And Beck's, I think it's important to remember with Beckham as well, he was never blessed with incredible pace.
No.
But he didn't need it. He could just shift that ball a yard and it would be whipped, and that's it. It's in. And obviously a pretty good goal scoring record. Like you say, dead ball situations, free kicks.
It's unreal.
Great though. And Keane's leadership, I mean, I love Roy Keane. watching him and Micah Richards at the moment on Sky, it's just gold. Absolute gold. And for me, I mean, people always talk about like who's better, Lampard or Gerrard. And I'm a massive fan of both. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Frank. But for me, Paul Scholes is possibly the best midfielder I've seen.
People say like he's overrated and all that, but he stayed at one club. He didn't leave. He retired and came back and won another league. And he didn't care. He's not aggressive. He's not like
very humble, down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've only got to look. People will have their views outside football, but listen to what other players say. People that played against Scholes, people that played with Scholes, and you listen to what they say about Scholes. That tells you all you need to know.
There was one interview with, was it Xavi and Iniesta in Barcelona when we won the Champions League, and they said if we could have any midfielder, and they said Scholes, for Iniesta and Xavi to say that, like two of the no doubt the best midfielders in the world, for them to say they'll take Scholes to partner them two, that's saying something.
What a midfield three that would have been.
Oh,
Xavi, Iniesta, and Paul Scholes. You'd never get the ball back.
No way in hell. And you know for a fact, Paul Scholes is going to go ping it. Yeah.
Crazy. And obviously, talking of memories, we was having a chat earlier on, and you were telling me about the last time you went to Old Trafford, which was, well, I'll let you tell it.
It was when we done Blackburn Rovers 7-1, and Dimitar Berbatov scored 5.
What a player that was.
Very often, Dimitar Berbatov scoring 5 goals in one match.
I actually remember that game, and I liked Berbatov. I know he was a bit languid, a touch lazy, but his touch and finishing was incredible.
It was that season where he scored 25 goals in half a season, and he got the hat trick against Liverpool, that overhead kick against Pepe Reina. And I'll never forget that day. I was 15 at the time, just about to turn 16, and at my first game at Old Trafford, we beat Blackburn 7-1. And I'm sitting there in the Stretford end right at the top. I'm just like,
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I remember the signing. I remember him signing. It was literally right at the last minute, transfer deadline day. I believe it was the January window as well.
30 million quid.
30 million quid from Spurs.
The thing with going back to Old Trafford as well, the one thing I'm hoping for, because the local club here, Norwich, have obviously just been promoted to the Premier League, and my company's by the away coaches, and we get to go into the stadiums.
Oh wow!
Because the owner of the company has got 10 season ticket holders for Norwich.
So 100% you're going to be going to the Norwich game.
Yes.
That would be incredible.
And I've just got to wait for the day. Obviously, we hope we're allowed fans back in, away fans as well.
Well, this is one thing I really missed. I really miss going to watch football. Before the lockdown and COVID all kicked in, I've took my daughter to Stamford Bridge a couple of times, which is good. You know, I only took her to cup games because it eased her in with the atmosphere. Not, cup games are a slightly different atmosphere to a Premier League game. But we were going quite regularly to watch the Chelsea women's team.
Yep.
Because obviously, being a girl, she likes watching other girls play football. And that is something that we've really missed. And having been to Old Trafford and experienced myself, actually, that atmosphere, even as an away fan, it is an incredible stadium.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, my first game, because my old man is a Chelsea fan as well, so my first game was Man United Chelsea at the Bridge. And it's the days of Solomon Kalou.
Solomon Kalou, Idika Johnson.
Yeah, it was 1-1 at the Bridge. G-Son Park scored a diving header. And my old man, obviously, he put me in the Chelsea home end, 4 rows behind the goal.
In the shed end?
In the shed end. And G-Son Park scored within 13 minutes. So you try and... I'm sitting there like, I really want to jump up and down, and obviously all that.
Can't.
With all my dad's mates. And, but even the Bridge has great atmosphere, especially...
It can do. Yeah,
they
it can do.
Blue Day on in the background.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of the old, particularly before a match. You have I think every club has their particular songs that get played, and to build an atmosphere. For me, don't get me wrong, I love watching Premier League games and all that. But for me, a European night, when you get a 7:45 kickoff European night, when you're in a full stadium, a packed stadium, and that Champions League music starts kicking in, if the hairs don't go up on the back of your neck as a football fan, you are not human.
But I paid £150 for this ticket, and it was 2012 Wembley Champions League final, Man United Barcelona.
Oh.
I was in the third tier at Wembley, right at the top. I'm watching ants play football. And when they played the Champions League anthem, you're like, wow. Obviously, Wembley, 90,000 fans. The stadium was rammed. Obviously, Champions League final.
There's only one other stadium and song that has had that kind of hair, neck tingling effect on me. And that's Anfield.
Anfield, yeah.
Never
You'll
walk alone.
Alone.
I mean, that song to me, obviously, as a proper football fan, growing up, I watched the semi-final on TV when at Hillsborough when they played, that fateful semi-final where everyone, R.I.P. the '96. And ever since that, I always feel very emotional when I hear "You Never Walk Alone," whether it's on the radio, TV, whatever. It's one of those songs.
It is, and it goes well with anything. Like my mate, he's a Liverpool fan. He passed away in January, and I was watching because obviously coronavirus. I watched his funeral on the phone, and they played that as he was walking out. I just burst into tears. I'm like, that the song goes well with anything.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, we have a few songs. I mean, I don't really think we can put "Celery" up in that category, but Blue Day, Suggs, and all
Glory
that.
Man United. That's never going to top "You Never Walk Alone."
No. I think that's difficult for. I think obviously Liverpool have pretty much got the. They've got that nailed down, really, haven't they? They have got that nailed down.
There is one other stadium when they sing this, especially at their old stadium. I absolutely loved it. I mean, Mum, being a West Ham fan, when they sang "Blowing Bubbles" at
Upton Park,
not the Olympic Stadium, the Upton Park. That was immense as well.
In the best amounts of respect to West Ham fans, and I know that's difficult coming from hearing that from a Chelsea fan. Upton Park was a horrible ground in terms of like the structure of it and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was as an away fan, it was a horrible ground to go to. It was. It's right up there with the Den. Horrible ground, Upton Park, but incredible atmosphere.
Oh yeah,
I think any stadium where the fans are so close to the pitch, which is obviously why West Ham, they struggle for an atmosphere where they are now. I've never been to the Etihad. I went to Main Road. Main Road had a really, had a great proper old-fashioned four-sided football stadium, and had a great atmosphere. I've not been to the Etihad yet, so I've not yet to experience what the atmosphere is like there. And my last time I went to Old Trafford was before you had all the major developments. So at that time, it probably would have held around about 55,000. And then and then they put the extra tier in at the top, and they filled all the corners in at the top around it, and obviously now it sits at 74,000, and I think they're talking about extending it even further now. Pogba, keep or sell?
For me, sell. He does not have the heart. At the minute, he's playing well. Before he got injured, he was playing absolutely shite.
I was listening to an interview last night, in fact, where a couple of pundits were talking about Pogba. And what they're saying is that Pogba plays well when the team's winning. So when the team's winning and things are going well, Pogba plays well. Which obviously, when it's not, he either don't turn up, he's injured, or he's on the pitch and he just looks completely disinterested. Now, don't get me wrong, the guy is an incredible talent.
Oh yeah, all day long.
But on his day, no question. And Ollie's done this in the recent weeks, and he's been playing pretty well, Pogba. Ollie's done something a little bit different with him. He's almost kind of played him not an out-and-out left midfielder or an out-and-out left forward, but kind of give him like a free-ish kind of role on the left to kind of get involved in the game, express yourself, go wherever. And that seems to have really worked out for him.
It's doing well. Like the whole Pogba's issue at the minute is he can't defend.
No,
he's not a defender, and
we saw that the other day. Yeah, we saw that the other day. I mean, that could happen to anyone. So I wouldn't put too much. I mean, he shouldn't have gone sliding on his arse. That's for sure. No, stay on your feet, man.
The last 6 penalties we conceded, this is actual stat, Pogba was at fault for 4 of them.
Oh dear.
So the bloke can't defend, but attacking,
Yeah, solid.
He
Absolutely
proved,
solid. Yeah.
he proved it against Roma. Like the first half, he was nothing, but the second half, he just pulled it out of the bag.
The link up play between him, Cavani, and Fernandes was incredible.
Yeah. I'm hoping. My issue as well coming back is with Pogba in a minute. If he does stay, then they'll sell Lingard.
I think Lingard will go no matter what happens. I think it's always very difficult, and there's been a lot of players that have come through the ranks at United that when they've walked away from Old Trafford, their careers have not really pushed on. I mean, to be fair, anything once really, there's only maybe 2 or 3 clubs that you would leave Old Trafford and say that you've actually made a step up. There's not many clubs that would be in that bracket.
No, not even in the Premier League.
No. And obviously you've seen in the past the likes of like Nicky Butt when he left and ended up with Newcastle, I think Birmingham later on in his career, and Phil Neville, albeit at Everton he had a very good career at Everton, but nothing really towards the heights of week in, week out.
You look at these players who have came and gone since Fergie. Van Persie,
great signing.
Then what?
For me, that was a very average squad that year. And Ferguson, obviously, there was talk that Ferguson was going to go that previous year, but he was never going to go out
without
a bang. Absolutely, 100%. Never going to go. Signs Van Persie. I think it was relatively cheap money as well. It was about 20 mil, yeah. And then obviously delivers the title. I remember a game, and I know we're rattling on now, but it brings back memories. When you talk about football, it brings back and evokes memories. Now, I remember a game, Wayne Rooney picks the ball, and you're going to know this as I start talking about it.
I know, you're going to talk about the Villa game, aren't
you? Picks the ball up on the right-hand side, moves forward and pings the most beautiful arcing, almost rainbow-esque ball that falls perfectly on the end of Robin Van Persie's
and it came over his shoulder.
Yeah, which makes it
and left foot bang.
Yeah, almost Van Basten-esque.
Didn't even take a touch. He just volleyed it. That just sums up Van Persie's season at Man United.
Yeah, incredible player. In many ways, I felt quite sorry for Van Persie because, from what I understand, he was under the impression that Ferguson was going to stick around for a few more years, and of course he got 1 year with Ferguson, gets his title, and then Ferguson's off and he gets David Moyes.
What an upgrade that is! Because Van Persie weren't getting the play and the balls like he was under Fergie.
Yeah,
as you say, that goal against Villa and most of Van Persie's goals, the free kick against City, he weren't getting them type of assists and everything.
Right now, I've left this right to the end because I think that this guy deserves his own little section, away, and it's a player that I've not mentioned throughout this whole conversation.
Oh,
and I did that with reason because I think because for me he's an absolute legend of the game. And I think he'd be remembered as one of the greatest footballers ever.
Big statement.
Ever. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ooh.
And then you only had him for, obviously,
we had him for
6 years.
Yeah, bought him in 03, sold him in 08.
Yeah.
03, sold him in 08. So I remember the first
5.5, 6 years. And so I've left that to the end because I think he deserves to be talked about. A whole section just for himself. A lot of people have the whole Messi and Ronaldo debate. I obviously did a Renesi, or what a player that would be. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, both combined.
So obviously I did a Messi and Ronaldo poll on our TikTok channel.
Yep.
Now, for me, I would pick Ronaldo over Messi.
All day long.
And I'll give you my reasons for that. Now, Messi is an incredible, natural, talented player.
Yep.
Everything with Messi it's I've no doubt he 100% goes for it in training. I've no doubt he stays well beyond training hours, practicing free kicks and all that. But
everything,
I think you can see with Messi, it is purebred natural talent. Now, I remember the statements when you signed him. You went and you played Sporting in a pre-season friendly, and this is fact. Everyone knows this. The players, when you were on the plane travelling back, the current, the players at United that turned around to Ferguson and said, "You've got to sign this guy."
Yep.
And I remember when he first came, he had bad teeth, jangly
Bad
hair,
teeth, the spiky gelled
weird
hair.
gelled, scraggly hair, 500,000 step overs every time he got the ball.
Yeah.
And this is why I place Ronaldo above Messi. You can see how much that guy worked at his game.
Yes, all day.
Yeah, he had skills.
Yeah,
100%. But he was a little bit erratic. Didn't all? You look at his actual. I mean, people have a go at Timo Werner. His first season in the Premier. Yes, I know Timo Werner's a lot older. Ronaldo was 18 when he came, but if you actually compare the two stats in their first seasons in the Premier League, Timo's got better stats, by the way.
Timo's a striker, Ronaldo was a right winger at the time.
He was, yeah, I'll give you that.
So he's coming in to replace Beckham.
Yeah, but what I look at, particularly Ronaldo at his Madrid years, you just look at the guy and you just look at him and you think that is an ultimate athlete. He has muscles on muscles.
Yep.
You can see that guy is 100%, 1,000,000% dedicated to his craft of making himself the best version of what he can possibly be.
Well, how old was he? 36 now, isn't he?
So yeah, about 36 now. Messi's
look at
couple
the
of years. Absolute
tank still.
He is. I see him carrying on and probably still playing at the highest level. Probably not. Sadly for me, probably not at Juve. There's talk of him possibly going to PSG, but I think he'll be like Ibra. I think he'll just keep rattling on, and as long as he's got the hunger and desire, I think. And this is the thing that I remember the Champions League final that we played in Moscow against you guys. Yeah. He didn't have the best of games.
No.
But yet, in the very key moment, he delivered. Yes. Unbelievable header. How he got up that high, I don't know. Incredible.
There Incredible was another player. Was it his Juve in the Juves? That he stood like 7-8 feet in the air.
Yeah. But I think it was the third season at United. The silly hair had gone. He beefed up. He'd become a lot more physical. I think obviously Ferguson had a massive effect with him. Very much a father figure, and I think you could see with Ronaldo, he got him in the gym, he built him up. Obviously, he'd been working a hell of a lot on his athleticism, a lot of the diving around on the floor. And there was a moment for me, and he'd scored incredible goals before this, but it was the game against Portsmouth, and he hits a free kick like an Exocet missile, and David James just sort of waved it.
Yeah,
and for me, it's almost like I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, right, this guy is now right at the top. Right, he is hitting his peak, and then obviously it goes to Madrid and goes well beyond that. La Liga's a different animal. People talk about, and yet again, going back to the whole Messi Ronaldo thing. Yet again, this is why I put Ronaldo above Messi, because does it in the Premier League, does it in the Liga, does it for Serie A, and then goes and inspires his country to winning a European Championship.
Exactly. And he was still remember that.
He got injured.
Yeah. He was injured.
And then he basically took over on the touchline as manager.
Yeah, he was telling everyone, right, you there.
Yeah.
And when
incredible player, incredible commitment to the game.
And trained other players up.
And also a very humble guy off the pitch.
Yeah.
You watch his documentary or anything that you watch on him. Great father. I mean, and I think a lot of that, I think a lot of the way he is with his son, I probably put down to Ferguson.
Yeah, there was the European final with Portugal.
Yeah,
he was coming down for collecting his medal. Fergie was there, weren't he?
I remember. Yeah, and he waited for him, and it was like a father and son embracing.
Literally, that was it. And I agree with you there. Ronaldo's just the top of the league. Can Messi, as the old saying says, can he do it on a Tuesday cold night in Stoke?
A wet, rainy, windy night in Stoke.
No, I don't think.
Unfortunately, I don't think City are going to do the deal now, because I would have liked to have seen Messi step out. And I know, yes, they play Champions League football, so yes, they do play clubs from other countries. it's a different ball game
all day long. It's physical.
And La Liga isn't. Let's be fair. La Liga isn't a massively strong league. Serie A the same. Serie A the same. You know, you've got maybe 5 clubs that are very competitive, and then the rest of them, You know, when you go to an away game at Eibar, where they've got a capacity stadium of about 6,000, you know, and players that, if I took my boots down there, I might have a shout at getting a game. And and yes, there's no reason, that's why Messi and Ronaldo goes and scores 5-6 goals a game against people like that.
And that's why I would always say Ronaldo, because as you say, he's bossed it in the Premier League, he's smashed it in La Liga, smashing it in Serie A, and it's not like he's young in Serie A. He's in his mid-30s, late 30s now, and he's still smashing it at 36.
So one final question for you, and this may be a difficult one for you to answer. You're great, and I'm not talking about players from way back. In terms of your era, your greatest Man United player.
Greatest. So
someone you've grown up watching as a United fan.
As I grew up watching, he weren't there for long, but what got me into Man United, because I remember watching that I was 5 during the treble league season, and for me, what made me fall in love with Man United was Van Nistelrooy.
What player?
It was Van Nistelrooy that made me proper fall in love with Man United. We weren't the best team, and obviously Arsenal, the Invincibles around that time. But for me, all right, you got the Rooneys, as you say, Ronaldo. It was always been.
I think there's always when you're a young lad, there's always one or 2 players that at a club that kind of grab you. And I have to admit this, and this may come as a surprise. Yes, I'm a Chelsea fan, but more over than that, I'm a football fan, and I don't necessarily have absolute hate for other clubs. When I was a young lad, I had a mixed colour yellow and green top.
Newton Heath.
The Newton
Heath shirt
with number 7 Cantona on the back.
Oh, imagine if you kept that. The price that is worth now.
Oh, I might even still have it somewhere. All right, mate. I'm gonna end our podcast here and end this episode here on Man United. I'm gonna thank you so much for coming in and joining me on my little pod, my show.
Oh yeah, as you say, you're not a Chelsea fan. You're a football fan.
Well, I know this is going to hurt, but that's a great place to end it. All right, this is that was the Man United pod with Mr. Reed, and Mr. Reed will be back to feature in other pods, no doubt, in other episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say thank you to you, Mr. Reed.
Cheers, Mr. Hodge.
And we look forward to having you back on the show very soon. So thank you for listening to this podcast. You have been with me, Hodgie, your host, and our guest for the day for the United Focus podcast episode, Mr. Andrew Reed. So from all of us at Talk Football, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on the next pod. To get in contact with the show, contact us on our TikTok channel, which is talk.football.hd, Instagram, the same name, talk.football.hd, or find our Facebook page, Talk Football. See you soon.